Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending today's promotion ceremony in honor of Major Lee Jones and Major Mary Danner Jones. Officiating today's ceremony is Lieutenant General Samuel Greaves, Commander, Space and Missile Systems Center, Los Angeles Air Force Base. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the arrival of the official party.
Colors. Hold. Present. Point.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Port. Point.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Chaplain Christina Nyberg, please come forward to give the invocation.
I invite you to pray with me. On this All Saints' Day, as many throughout the world remember the saints, ordinary people who accomplished extraordinary things, people who sacrificially contributed to the betterment of humanity. On this day, we remember all those who played a vital role in the lives of Mary and Lee, culminating in their joint promotion to Lieutenant Colonel. Holy God, we give you thanks for family, bosses, peers, and staffs who have at times encouraged, exhorted, and even prodded this couple to give of their best to the task at hand. Their achievements are many and their potential for expanded responsibility is great. As we celebrate their pinning on, remind them of their roots and the people and mission they are called to serve. Equip them for every good work, and then at the end of the day, as they gaze upon the stars, illumine their affection for each other so that together they might expertly navigate the way ahead. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Nyberg. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. At this time, I would like to recognize our promotees' family and their distinguished guests at today's ceremony. Major Jones' sister, Sally Osterberg. Major Jones' son, Trey Jones, and his friend Iris. Major Jones' daughter, Michaela Jones, and Major Jones' family friend, Devlin Watson. We are also honored to have with us Ms. Pat Greaves, wife of General Greaves, Chief Master Sergeant Hall, Command Chief, Space and Missile Systems Center, Colonel Sheva, Deputy Director, Military Satellite Communication Systems, Colonel Chuck Roberts, Commander, 61st Air Base Group, Colonel Phil Garant, Director, Space Superiority, Colonel Stephen Whitney, Director, Global Positioning Systems. We also welcome all friends, coworkers, military and civilian leaders, and industry partners. Thank you all for attending. It is now my pleasure to introduce the presiding officer for today's ceremony, General Greaves. Sir, the floor is yours.
Well, good morning, everyone. And Michaela, it was good to see you smiling there. I was getting a little worried when we were upstairs, but it's great to see you. First of all, thanks to the Honor Guard for rendering the colors and demonstrating once again the respect and everything we hold dear when we present the colors. To Ms. Taylor, well done again. I always get chills listening to sing the national anthem. And to Chaplain Nyberg for those great, outstanding words of wisdom. So to the family, when we were upstairs, I mentioned we had some senior leaders here who did great things like work with contractors to produce the gold positioning system and then other things we talked about. They're sitting right here in the front row. They're real people, and they lead great teams here at the center, working with industry to deliver those capabilities. It's a true honor for me to have been asked by both Lee and Mary to preside at today's ceremony. And Lee, our paths crossed in my last job at the Missile Defense Agency, and then of course with Mary in this job. I'll go through their backgrounds here in a second, but in both cases, and as you listen to their story, I hope you will be reminded of the various paths that we all take or have taken to get where we are today, and the commitment, sacrifice, dedicated to mission, focus on improving themselves that I've seen with both of these individuals. Lee from before and right in the previous job I'll talk about, and Mary in the public affairs job. And I'll say right up front, if you don't remember anything I say about Mary's performance leading PA, when I got to SMC, the decision was almost made to disband the public affairs office. I thought something was wrong, and I decided not to do it. And between Mary's leadership and the PA staff's performance and supported by this product center, we made the right decision, and I continue to be amazed weekly, if not daily, on what's happening over there. So my thanks to you and the entire team for that would have been a terrible mistake, and I'm saying that publicly. There's no doubt in my mind. But each of us have gotten to where we are today through very different paths. And I'll start with Lee, and then I'll go to Mary. 30 plus years of service for Lee, if you think about it. And some of you may not know some of the stuff I'm gonna pass on to you. And I'll talk about what that means there and give some details. He's been deployed to South Korea, and while he was enlisted, just as many of us have done, he's PCS multiple times, 9 times exactly, 6 as an officer. We already met his wife and family, and not able to attend today are his dad, Mr. Henry Jones, who's passed away, and his mother, Juliet Jones, also passed away. Now, Lee was born and grew up in Hobson City, Alabama. And of note, in 1899, Hobson City was the first self-governed, all-black African-American municipality in the United States. And I did a Google search on Hobson City this morning, and it's about 2.5 hours south of Huntsville, Alabama, and that's in the northern part of Alabama. And Pat and I were stationed in Huntsville, so if you think about where that is visually within the country, I got that wrong. You were born in Atlanta and you were raised in Hobson City. Correct me if I say something wrong. But I'll talk about that in a minute. But overall, is an officer training school, distinguished graduate, and a bachelor's degree in business management and an MBA from Touro University, and all through those academic achievements, highest honors, summa cum laude sort of credentials. So he lived in Hobson City, Alabama, and what struck me was that something where I grew up, even though it was in New York City, it was in Queens, but what Lee relayed to me is that the neighborhood parents, they knew all the kids, and apparently Hobson City was so small that you could shout from one end to the other and hear each other. But what that meant to me is that there was the bigger family that we all hear about occasionally, taking care of the kids growing up in that environment. And for me, I experienced that, so I can only imagine what that was like for you. He planned to join the Air Force with a buddy, but then the buddy decided to go Navy, but he stuck with Air Force, so we thank you for that. His dad was a soldier in Vietnam, and then followed that with being a police officer in Atlanta, and unfortunately he was killed in the line of duty in 1973. And Lee wanted to be a policeman, a cop like his dad, so he enlisted as part of the security forces within the Air Force. And I'll talk about his trail to becoming an officer, and it involved our chief of staff then, at the time, General Mike Ryan, who I had the opportunity to work for. So if you impressed him, you were really, really sharp. From July of '86 to '91, as an E1 through E4, he was, this is interesting, he was an alert aircraft entry controller at Carsville Air Force Base, Texas, for B-52s. Now, if anyone has been around or experienced what SAC was like back in those days, Pat and I have a friend where we were at Vandenberg as lieutenants. I was a lieutenant. And our space launch complexes were protected at the same PL level. And his badge was wrong one day, and he found himself on the other end of an M16 face down on the ground. And I always remember that, but when I saw this in Lee's record, I can only imagine you out there protecting these strategic assets, and what it would be like to come face to face with someone as dedicated to the mission as you, and it would cause you to think. He oversaw the operations of Army personnel for arming and equipping force security forces flights. And back then, if you think about it, '86 to '91, height of, tail end, transition from the Cold War, you wouldn't just walk up to a B-52 and anywhere near and survive. So that was a very important mission that you did there. November '91 to '92, he was over in Kunsan, Korea, not Osan, but Kunsan, and there's a very, very big difference between the two. For those of you who are familiar with that AOR. And he was selected for the Air Force Korea-wide team for military police units, and competed in PACAF level, Pacific Air Command level competitions. Very big deal, very big deal. And they placed number 2 overall. Within, Pacific Air Command has responsibility for the entire Pacific region. If you think about all that water out there between, west coast of California all the way to where Japan and south and north to Alaska, it's a big deal. He transitioned to the Pentagon, where he was an information security program flight chief and supporting 32 headquarters offices at the Pentagon. And those of you who've worked in the Pentagon know how important that activity is, that we have people that are working that info security area. And then a very interesting assignment from 97 to 99 is in E6, where he was the confinement liaison to the Quantico Marine Corps brig at Quantico, where they had responsibility for over 100 Air Force personnel who found themselves in that facility. So he had a chance to work daily with not only the Quantico folks, but the folks up at Headquarters Air Force. Then from 99 to 01, he was a personal security officer and driver for the Chief of Staff of the Air Force. And you just don't end up in jobs like that. You are handpicked because you are what's standing in between the principal, the Chief of Staff in this case, and whatever harm may come to him. So to be selected for that position, that's a huge deal. I know personally from dealing with the folks that handle General Welch's detail, the ones that handle then General Hyten, now General Raymond. And it was at that point where General Ryan provided the recommendation for OTS that helped Lee get an OTS and become an officer. And he's had some great assignments. First assignment, he did things like work in the Agent Aircraft Program Office, as well as the FA, the Fighter Attack 22. This is our premier fighter aircraft that we've got dominating the skies today. So back then he was involved with that. And lots of accolades, Company Grade Officer of the Quarter, top 5 of 20 seat Company Grade Officers. If you look at his record, you'll see that sustained superior performance, as I call it, being recognized by your leadership. And then he came to Los Angeles from 2004 to 2007, where he worked on the Space Tracking Surveillance System, STSS. And I mentioned that upstairs when we chatted that we've got systems in space that look for heat flashes from threat missiles coming to do us harm, and then there's an entire infrastructure that's in place to protect us. STSS, that acronym, that's those two vehicles were the first in a new architecture that we're deploying to help with that mission. Lots of stratification there. Then he went off to be a flight commander in maintenance ops back at F.E. Warren in 07 to 11, which is very interesting as I look to see where these two intersected. It may have been before that, but definitely at F.E. Warren. Led a 50-person flight, managing the wing alert rate, and lots of strats. Professional team honors as a member of the team when inspected by the IG. Number 1 of 7 CGOs, number 1 of 8 CGOs, company grade officer. So he's being stratified among his peers right at the top. And then he went off to the Missile Defense Agency from January 11 to March of 14. And I spent some time as the deputy in the agency from August of 12 to 14 till I got to this job. And today the Air Force Space Command is heading towards something called a space enterprise vision, where we are developing a battle management command and control system to not only have our sensors deliver information, but deliver that information in an operationally credible time to allow decision making to happen. Well, Lee was the program element monitor, as in the overall budget program lead within the headquarters for something called the C2BMC system, the command and control battle management system for the missile defense architecture that's protecting our nation from ICBMs from North Korea and Iran. And that's where the Air Force is going. He's already done it. They've already deployed command and control architecture that receives information from various sensors from around the world, radars, satellites, ships, whatever you want to call it, and fuses all that information together and gets it to decision makers that have to decide whether or not to launch defensive missiles to protect our nation. From SM-3s, Standard Missile 3s from ships, or the ground-based interceptor that's in the ground at 2 locations, one at Vandenberg, one up in Alaska. So it was the brains, and he was the program element monitor for it. And he was also in the organization that did warfighter integration, which is a key bit of any acquisition organization that's attempting to deliver capability to an operational user. as in the operators need to know what to do with the information. And his group, they routinely interfaced with all the services, Army, Navy, Air Force, as well as the Joint Staff, and did it routinely and did it in a great manner. He worked for one of the folks I admire greatly, Herb Gooden, an Army colonel, that basically had to deal with me in getting that job done. But you guys did a great job there, and he was stratified again within that organization. Then he went off to work at air-to-air missiles advanced development at Patuxent River in Maryland. I thought it was Maryland, but it says Washington, D.C., where he was the PM for advanced development. And again, he was stratified there. And he's now here working with us in our advanced MILSATCOM development branch. So I'll tell you what, when I look at Lee, you look at the pathways that people take to get to where they are. And on behalf of a grateful Air Force, 30 years plus service in many different jobs, always a focus of excellence and demanding more of yourself and being a leader. And I knew who he was. I didn't know him as well as I do now when he was back at MDA, but I knew who he was. It was pretty interesting back then. And I thank you for everything you've done and you're continuing to do here. Let me switch to Mary. I'll tell you, equally impressive record, equally impressive path to where we are today, and the impact that she's having as a leader of our public affairs staff on not only this center, but the United States Air Force is unprecedented. I've been here 4 times. My first assignment in this area was back in 1990. And I have not seen a public affairs office at this product center operate with the tempo and effectiveness as I've seen over the last 2.5 years. And we're talking not only affecting what we do here at the center, but what we're doing here and transmitting that message, getting that word out to decision makers at Headquarters Air Force, within this, the Office of the Secretary of Defense, the White House, over at the Congress. And we have been doing it very successfully in the last 2.5 years. And Mary came in and we were doing well, and she just took it to her leadership and the team, and that's what I'm very proud of. The team responded, and we've taken that to levels beyond which I've seen in my 4-time assignment here, going back 20 plus years at this product center. But what we have in front of us is 21 years plus of service to our Air Force. She's been deployed to Jalalabad in Afghanistan, PCS, State Times, and it's interesting, and Pat, you'll sync with this, one of our post-retirement future plans is to go to culinary school. So lots of talent. So we met the family and friends. She's from Wisconsin, Neenah, Wisconsin, and she's also an OTS, Officer Training School commissioning source. In fact, the same month as Lee, which is pretty interesting. It goes back that far. Okay. You can't find that in the record. I thought it went back to F.E. Warren, but that's great. Graduate of University of Wisconsin, 1994, an MBA from Webster University, as well as a Master of Science degree in Strategic Intelligence from the National Intelligence University. She grew up in Wisconsin, and she was the youngest of 3 girls. And I will tell you, the feedback I got was that her parents instilled a strong work ethic, independence, and sense of family in her as she was growing up. And I'll tell you, I've seen that since she's worked for me. And I will tell you, I'm a master of interrupting her weekends to get PA updates out or respond to some press release. And that strong work ethic and independence and calming effect, I will tell you, it's for real. And she heard about the Air Force in an Air Force recruiting ad. And it's interesting, she ends up in PA and she hears about the Air Force in a recruiting ad, and she enlisted ASAP. She joined during her last semester in college, and I'll rat on you here. It says that you skipped class when you heard it and went to recruiter and signed up, so that's pretty cool. What's that? Oh, your parents did that, all right. Again, she enlisted 96 to 98. She was a ground computer maintainer of the 552nd Component Repair Squadron and a tinker. And she worked on these are the airplanes with the big dishes that fly around that basically tell the combatant commander where all the air component forces are in theater, and they communicate, they vector, they move people around. So they're a big orchestrator stuff. And she'd maintain and repair the aircraft mock-up and the computer systems. And she learned about OTS and what it took to be second lieutenant because she'd done well on her AFOQT. That's the test that you take to enlist. And she discovered she had done well enough on it. From 98 to 01, she was a public affairs journeyman at the 50th Space Wing at Schriever. And she worked her way up and became editor of the base paper. And if you think about it, 94 to 01, base papers were probably the primary method the commander had to communicate with the forces on any base. You know, we didn't have, well, I guess email was starting up, and Facebook, I don't think that was around back then. Twitter and all the other things weren't around. So you really learned about what was happening at your base from getting a hard copy of that base paper every week and reading through it. So being the editor was a big deal. From 02 to 04, she was a public affairs officer at Headquarters Air Force Education and Training Command, and excelled there. Was by name requested by the commander of AATC when he visited Luke Air Force Base and supported the first post-September 11th air show. If you think about what that meant after that major event, that was a big deal. And then 04 to 07, she was back here in Los Angeles as the deputy director of the Entertainment Liaison Office here in Los Angeles. And lots of strats, company grade officer of the year twice, traveled to Iraq, with a writer of a TV series based on the Air Force Combat Medicine career field. And tremendous number one strats in her career. Then she went off to F.E. Warren. This is where I thought the connection was. And was the chief of public affairs back there at F.E. Warren, and again did great work there. Went to the Pentagon as a PA officer, and interesting enough was our international spokesperson on RPA, remotely piloted aircraft. Some people call them drones. As that mission was essentially building up. And she gained RPA coverage in a number of publications. Der Spiegel, Popular Science, CNN, New Yorker, USA Today. Won a ton of awards, including PA Communicator of the Quarter, and was a Communication of the Year award winner. So it's a lot of great stuff that's going on. And, you know, I've gone to every level of professional military education. When I went to Air War College back in this is the highest level within the Air Force you can go to develop your professional military experience. We have lots of speakers. That's 10 months down in Montgomery, Alabama. Tons of speakers coming through. And you take classes for 10 months. And there are only a couple of things I remember from that experience. One of them is when Brigadier General Ronald Rand, who was the Air Force Public Affairs Chief, SAF PA we call him, came to Air War College, and he spoke to us. And you know, you're going through 10 months of high-level people coming through, talking, so you're paying attention, okay? But there's some people you pay more attention to. And the one thing I remember from him is that his speech said that public affairs is the first front of combat. To me, that has stuck with me for the last 15 years because it's for real. Because you need to get your message out to the people that need to hear it, and the way to do it is through public affairs. So everything the folks here at the center have seen from me is to ensure that we are positioning ourselves to tell the story of what's happening here at SMC. We're 2,800 miles away from Washington, and if you live in Washington, everything revolves around Washington. But at this product center, as I told you upstairs, we've been doing this mission since 1954. And people will not know that unless we get the message out. So our equivalent of combat is to ensure that everyone, to include those who would do us harm or provide a negative message or not tell our message in the right way, understand what we've been doing here. And PA, under Mary's leadership and the entire team, they've been doing a great job at it. So I remember that. There's one other course I had that I remember. Everything else sort of just went by the wayside. So August 14th, she went off to National Intelligence University at Bowling. And then she's been here, as I said, leading our public affairs effort. So when I look at both of these careers, I mean, we each get here in very different ways, but they're perfect examples of why we are the greatest nation on the face of the planet. And when things look like they're really, really bad, if you think about the brief summary I just gave on these two individuals and the separate courses they took to achieve greatness within our Air Force, I hope that provides you some confidence, if not a great deal of confidence, that we've got a great nation, we've got a great mission. It's great to be part of the greatest Air Force on the face of the planet, defending our way of life and ensuring that Michaela can grow up to be the best and most prolific scientist that we can deliver in our nation. And those opportunities are there. And there's nothing preventing her from doing that but herself. And if you think about that, and you think about what we all do here and what these two have done, whether it's guarding B-52s or ensuring that the nation and the Congress understands what we're going to be doing with space launch in the future, or GPS or MILSATCOM, I think those are all very important things. So my congratulations again. It is a great honor to have been asked to officiate this ceremony. I congratulate both of you. You've got very bright futures, great family. I wish you all the best. All right, very well.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the reading of the promotion order.
Publish the orders.
Special Order Number 005333, the President of the United States, acting upon the recommendation of the Secretary of the Air Force, has placed special trust and confidence in the patriotism, integrity, and abilities of Major Henry Jones and Major Mary Danner Jones. In view of these special qualities and their demonstrated potential to serve in the higher grade, Majors Lee Jones and Mary Danner Jones are promoted to the grade of Lieutenant Colonel, United States Air Force, effective 1 November 2016, by order of the President of the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Would family members please come forward to pin on the new rank? I would like to ask that the family stay for photographs.
Make sure there's sound on the plane.
As part of the promotion ceremony, it is an Air Force tradition that the newly promoted officers reaffirm their commitment to the Air Force by retaking the oath of office. This oath reminds us of the serious obligation that the American servicemen and women make to the people of our country. Please stand as General Greaves administers the oath of office.
Raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Henry Jones,
Having been appointed a lieutenant colonel in the United States Air Force,
having been appointed Lieutenant Colonel in the United States Air Force,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic.
foreign and domestic.
I will bear true faith and allegiance
I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same.
to the same.
I will take this obligation freely
That I will take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
upon which I'm about to enter.
on which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
All right. Very well done. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to present the Air Force's newest Lieutenant Colonels. Lieutenant Colonel Lee Jones, please come forward for remarks.
Thank you, General Greaves, Mrs. Greaves. Sir, I don't know if you remember, but in 2014, I really owe this promotion to you because you signed my selective early retirement board package to retain me in the Air Force, so thank you. So thank you for officiating today. Mrs. Greaves, thank you for coming out and taking time out of your busy day to attend also. Thank you to Ms. Taylor for that beautiful national anthem, and thank you to Chaplain Nyberg for the invocation. Thank you to Simon and to George for taking and volunteering for doing this for us today. It really means a lot. Thank you to Captain Simpson, Captain Wilcox, the CAG, and Angie and George from Protocol to make sure that this event happened and that it was successful. Finally, thank you to all the great folks in MC. I'm truly, every day that I show up at work, amazed at how talented the people I work with, and you definitely inspire me every day to try to be a better officer, just the smart people that I work with. There are numerous folks that I would like to thank, but many of them are not here. So I still need to honor them for me getting here. General Greaves, thank you for mentioning my enlisted service. It's a big part of me, and it definitely helped shape who I have become as an officer. So it's no secret, I've been in a long time. So, like when we were doing this for this practice, I kind of joked, I enlisted in the Air Force 10 years ago, which means 30 years, and the guy's like, yeah, you should lead with that. So there you go. I won't name all the people that I need to thank from when I was enlisted, but I'll definitely start when, my time working for the Chief of Staff of the Air Force. that really shaped not only who I am, but the fact that I got an opportunity to, to be around the highest ranking senior official in the Air Force and be a fly on the wall and see how our Air Force was being led. That truly helped shape me, and I was so encouraged in working for them. Working while I was there, he had 3 aide-de-camps, and the aide-de-camp and the driver, you're kind of like your tandem object in making sure that everything is happening and occurring correctly. So I definitely owe thanks to now retired Colonel Brian Yolitz, still active duty Major General Kevin Snyder, and still active duty Major General John Horner. Those guys, they took care of me, and they made sure that we took care of the boss properly. And one of the best things that they told me when I got there is Colonel Yolitz sat me down. He said, "Lee, it's like you look like you're a perfectionist." I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Well, that's not going to work here." He said, "Things move dynamically. There's a lot of information that comes in and out, and you're not going to have all the information." He's like, "And you're going to get criticism and you're going to get feedback, but it's all professional. It's not personal." He said, "Take what you messed up on, accept your role in making sure that it's done better next time, because we're here for the mission for the boss." And so I've taken that with me, and I always try to apply that instead of placing blame, doing what I can to help make sure that we accomplish the mission. A little bit of note of trivia. One of the then 06 execs was a colonel by the name of Stephen Goldfein, who ultimately retired as a major general, and he is the older brother of the current Chief of Staff, General David Goldfein. So that was, it's funny how small the world is, sir, and how everything links together. More importantly, that assignment, as I mentioned, just working with some of the brightest and the best folks that the Air Force had to offer, was truly humbling to me, and for me to be a part of that was just so amazing. And to continue that throughout my Air Force career, every duty location I go, just to see the dedication of our airmen and the people that we work with to accomplish the mission, it just humbles me. Now to say thanks to the folks that have helped shape me as an officer, first, well, it was at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and working for the Commander's Action Group in the FA-22 and working with General Tom Owen. We spent many of evenings in DC preparing for the F-22 DABs. We were having quarterly DABs because of everything that was going on with the F-22 program. So having those interactions with senior leaders and shaping the strategic messaging of how to move a program along that's having issues was instrumental. My time at Los Angeles Air Force Base, working on the NFIRE program as a deputy program manager, is probably one of the best jobs I'll have, because from a program manager, it was the pinnacle of program management. We developed a payload. We integrated that payload onto a satellite bus. We integrated the satellite bus on a launch vehicle. We launched it. We did LEOP. We conducted the first of 2 tests designed for NFIRE. And I don't know if I'll ever see that progression again throughout my career, so that was probably one of the most beneficial jobs. And the second was me working at F.E. Warren and doing the ICBM maintenance officer tour. That, working with people in the nuclear arena when everything was going on. We got there right before we had the Taiwan incident, and so the nuclear surety inspection started, and you're under a microscope, and we were transitioning from not only Space Command but Global Strike Command, so trying to make sure that you are doing your job, taking care of the mission, and under a microscope at the same time. And Mary was a PA, so she was responsible for making sure that that we were communicating the correct things. So I have to thank, Colonel Eric Batway, who took me under his wing, saw that I was an officer and I was not just an acquisition officer out in maintenance to do an exchange tour. He saw that I was a good officer, and he gave me responsibility. At one point, as a captain, flight commander, I had 165 folks under me, 19-year-olds driving 18-wheelers with nuclear re-entry systems on them out to 3 hours. And so for me, every day, you could kind of gauge the success of your job. If your people came back and the missile was on alert, you know that you did your job. If they came back and it wasn't on alert, you know that you didn't do your job. And so seeing that side and it not being as dynamic as acquisitions is, because sometimes it's difficult to gauge how much progress you're making on a program until you reach a key milestone. And lastly, sir, time at MDA, working for Colonel Gooden, definitely thanks to him and to you for, like I said, my CERB package that you recommended I be retained in the Air Force. And then when I went down the Pax River, Colonel Sobel. As I continue to grow in my career, the high caliber people that I work with day in and day out have nothing but the most respect and admiration for. But more importantly, my wife, we are a tandem team when it comes to being, mill to mill. It's probably one of the toughest things that you can do is be mill to mill and try to have a successful career at the same time. We've been through, she was deployed when Michaela was 16 months. When you pin on major, both of you are trying, or when you get promoted to major, both of you are struggling to figure out who's going to do ACSC first or together. So different things like that. When she was deployed, I had a great opportunity to make Michaela a Dallas Cowboys fan. But I missed it, and so when she came home, she brought Packer gear, and so now Michaela's a Packers fan. Yeah. And of course, like General Greaves said, just all of the things of trying to balance being mill to mill. Sir, I have to say though, now there are no disagreements. Used to before, when there was a conflict between home and work, we compare schedules to see who wins, and now she's like, oh, it's for General Greaves. So, in wrapping up, I was a career airman before I got my commission, and throughout my career as an officer, I've always been the old lieutenant, the old captain, the old major. And so now I'm finally at a point that I am in the age-appropriate peer group for lieutenant colonels. Not because lieutenant colonels are old, but most of the LTs think the lieutenant colonels are old. Again, I'm truly humbled. Thank you again for coming out, and I'll turn it over to Mary, and we'll do thanks to the family together. Thank you.
Lieutenant Colonel Mary Danner Jones, please come forward for remarks.
Thank you, Captain Council. I'm a public affairs officer and don't like being out front. My job is to find subject matter experts, and most PAs are introverted, and that's me for sure, so I hope my notes keep me on track and I don't ramble on too much. But first of all, Lieutenant General Greaves, I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule to do this ceremony. When Lee and I were looking at doing a promotion ceremony, you were the first person, the only person that came to mind. It's so special that you have worked with both of us and have mentored and guided both of us, so I appreciate you taking time to do this today. Thank you for the support you provide me, for believing in me, and for trusting in me, and not just me, but the entire public affairs staff. I have learned a tremendous amount under your leadership, and I appreciate that you challenge me to become a better airman and a public affairs officer. So thank you doesn't seem like enough, but that's all I have. Thank you. Mrs. Greaves, thank you to you too for coming out today. I appreciate and am thankful for the support and the appreciation that you have for public affairs. Chief Hall, thank you for your support and always motivating me to serve like a champion. Ms. Kennedy, I want to thank you also. You are always a place for me to come and make sure I'm not crazy and to be a sounding board, and I appreciate that. And to all my fellow directors, deputy directors, senior leaders, thank you for being here today, and thank you for supporting public affairs. I say it a lot, and I'll say it again here today publicly. Public affairs is a team sport. We cannot do our jobs without all of you, and any success for public affairs is a success for the team, and it's largely due in part to the support that you provide me and my staff. Putting on a ceremony like this takes a lot of work, and there's a whole cast of people that are involved. I want to thank you, the CAG, but particularly Irby Burnett, Major Select Wilcox, and Captain Simpson, Angie and George from Protocol, Greg for providing the AV support, Van for clicking away nonstop, Krista for providing video support, Captain Castello and Captain Kneister for being the MC, and the proffer. Special thanks to Pam for that beautiful rendition of the national anthem, and also to Chaplain Nyberg for providing an inspirational invocation. To the PA staff, thank you for what you do every single day. What you do is important, and it impacts not only the center, but the Space Command headquarters and the Air Force at large. And I truly believe that, and I want you to know that. When I first arrived here, you've all heard me tell this story before, and people would be introduced to me, and Hamilton can attest to this. People would laugh or say, "I'm sorry." But I am so proud of what we have accomplished together. We've come a very long way in the past year, and admittedly we have a ways to go. But what I do know for sure is that we are better today than we were a year ago, and we will be better tomorrow than we are today. So thank you. This promotion has been a long time coming. Lee and I found out like a year and a half ago. But what that's given me an opportunity to do is sort of reflect on my career. And one thing I know for sure is that it took a village to get me to where I am today. And I have been blessed with the best village. So I'm going to take this time to name a few people that have gotten me here today. You'll recognize some of the names, some of you. And the first person is Colonel Richard Weber, who I think retired as a Major General. He signed my OTS endorsement and gave me an incredible reference. And then Colonel Larry James, who informed me of my OTS selection and has followed me through my career, and you'll hear more about him. General Don Cook, who was the commander of AETC, which was my first assignment after getting commissioning. General Cook never once treated me like a second lieutenant, not once. And he would often by name request me for his events. He wanted me to be there when he got on the ground. He taught me that professionalism and hard work mean more than rank, and that those things are important characteristics carried through my career. Colonel Steve Clutter and General Les Kodlik, who believed in me and set me up for great success at the Air Force Entertainment Office. And I think that they helped really solidify my reputation in public affairs. And it was those two who, at the time, I was angry at, pushed me to be the chief of public affairs at F.E. Warren. And at the beginning of my assignment at F.E. Warren, it was a really, really tough assignment for me. But thankfully, Barry Kistler, Chief Master Sergeant Tammy Elliott, a number of colonels, and ultimately Colonel Greg Timms, took care of me, believed in me, and trusted me to communicate F.E. Warren's contribution to the Air Force nuclear enterprise. At a time when that nuclear enterprise was under incredible scrutiny. We had 2 visits by the Secretary of the Air Force in my time there, two visits by the Air Force Chief of Staff. We had a number of very high-vis incidents, and we also participated in a very large multi-agency nuclear enterprise that included numerous federal, state, county, and city government agencies. Colonel Timms, who was the wing commander at that time, often said publicly that he was a card-carrying member of the Mary Danner fan club and the president. So he supported me like I can't even put it into words what he did, that man. Colonel Don Dorian, Lieutenant Colonel Brett Ashworth, Lieutenant Colonel Alan Heritage, and Miss Ann Stefanik are 4 of the finest public affairs professionals that I've ever had the chance to work with, to follow, and to be mentored by. They gave me the confidence to provide guidance and give an opinion when it was necessary, and they believed in my instincts, and they taught me that I should believe in those instincts too, because they're sound, and I owe a lot to them. And then while at the press desk, I worked on the intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance account, which admittedly I knew nothing about. But that organization was led by now Lieutenant General Larry James and Major General James Poss. But the fact that I didn't know anything was fine to them. They trusted me, and I quickly learned under their leadership and with the great teamwork in the ISR community. General James would seek out my guidance and my opinion, and he would say, if Mary's recommending it, then that's what we're going to do. And that was, for me, as a young captain, that major at that time, to hear a 3-star general put that kind of faith in me, it did wonders for me, knowing that I was pretty good at what I was doing. But those of us who serve this great nation and our Air Force know that it takes a very strong family support to do what we do. My mom and dad aren't here today, but I know that they are looking down from heaven with great pride. And if I know my mother, she's also gathered all the other angels and is making them watch and telling very embarrassing childhood stories. But becoming an officer was very important to my dad, and he was at my OTS graduation and pinned on my second lieutenant rank, and he passed away 6 months later. So I'm thankful that he saw his dream for me come true. And my mom, well, gosh, I could spell my name, and she was so prideful of that. Didn't matter what I did. For my sister Sally, you inspire me. From being the first in our family to graduate from college, to completing law school, and then being the youngest person appointed as a family court commissioner in the county, you push me to be better. So I also owe you a thank you for taking care of Mom after Dad passed away, and then taking care of all of Mom's affairs as I breezed in and breezed out in the name of duty to country in the Air Force, and I wasn't there. And so thank you. Trey and Iris, thank you to both of you for making the trip and taking time away from school to be here. Trey, thank you for understanding what your dad and I do. I know we've missed a lot, but you have continued to support us on this journey. And you need to know that we love you and we are very proud of the man that you are becoming. This is where I'm going to get teary. Michaela, you are the best part of us. Aunt Angie once told me that you were handpicked by Grandpa up in heaven, and I believe that because you are the best daughter for me. You are smart, and you are funny, and you are generous and hardworking. You're understanding and very easygoing, and you make more sacrifices than anyone. I mean, even from me missing your parade yesterday, and you just rolled the punches, and I appreciate that. Daddy and I have missed a lot because of events with the Air Force, but know that every decision we make it for you. And then to Lee. You make me a better wife, mother, sister, and friend. You are the better airman and officer than me, And I'm thankful that you continue to push me outside of my comfort zone and encourage me to believe in things that I never thought were possible. Thank you for always having my back, even when I don't want you to, or make it difficult. But there's nobody else I'd rather be on that journey with. Lee and I aren't exchanging gifts. We're going to plan some sort of family experience and spend some quality time together if I can get leave. But we do have some gifts for our family.
Trey, this is one of the coins that Colonel Ryan gave me, and it has inspired and helped motivate me to stay focused and to always do my best. And so I'm going to pass it to you and hope that in your mechanical engineering and as you step away from college and start student life, it also does the same.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand and join us in singing the Air Force song and remain standing for the departure of the official party.